Okay, guys, so I wanted to walk through these equations for you and, do what I normally do, which is open up my brain so that you can see what's going on. So let's go through the very first equation that I want you to balance on this worksheet for worksheet 1. Okay, so first things first is it's asking you what type of reaction is it. So you should know that you have an element plus an element that makes a compound. So hopefully in your mind that says that it is a synthesis reaction because that's what it is. Okay. Now in terms of our coefficients, remember that rule that I told you about, right? Is that when you start to see 3s and 2s, right, you should go 3s and 2s, right? So you have ammonia here with a subscript of 3. You have hydrogen here with a subscript of 2. Great, go 3s and 2s. Okay, that is your balance for that equation. So if you want to break it down, you have 6 hydrogen and check yourself. You have 2 nitrogen, you have 2 nitrogen, you have 6 hydrogen. You are balanced. Okay, let's move on to number 2. So for number 2, if you take a look, you have an element plus an element that makes a compound. That should tell you that once again, it is a synthesis reaction. Okay, now in terms of the balance, the problem child right here is oxygen, right? Because on one side, I have 1 oxygen. On the other side, or on the reactant side, I have 2 oxygens. So I need 2 on the product side. So I'm going to add that coefficient and go 2. All right. And then what you want to do is you obviously want to check your numbers to see what's going on, right? So now I have 4 hydrogen. I have 2 oxygen. And then I have 2 hydrogen and 2 oxygen, okay? So my problem child is my oxygens are fine. My problem child is my hydrogen because I have 4 on one side and 2 on the other. So I need to get to 4 on my reactant side. Add a 2. That'll bring you to 4. We're now balanced. Okay, let's move on to number 3. Number 3, once again, you have an element and another element that makes a compound. So when you see that, your brain should say that this is a synthesis reaction because that is what it is. Okay, and this one is kind of similar to the one up top, except it looks like it's exactly the same as the one on top. So here we go. We need to increase our oxygen, right? Because that's the problem child. I have 2 oxygen here. I have 1 oxygen here. So I need 2. Okay, that gives me the 2 that I need. So now I have 2 and 2. I have 4 sodium. I need 4. Okay, and it's not necessarily necessary that you write a T-chart for all of them, but until you guys get more proficient at balancing equations, it would be a good idea if there's something going on and you think it might be difficult to check yourself. Okay, and guess what? It is balanced. Okay, 4 and 5 we did in class, so I'm going to skip over those for a minute. Let's go to number 6. So for number 6, first of all, it's asking you what type of reaction it is. Well, if you take a look, you have a compound and an element, and then you have a different compound and a different element. If you were to look in your notes, that would tell you that it is single replacement. Okay, the other way to notice it is that if you take a look, your iodine and your bromine essentially pushes iodine out and leaves it by itself. Okay, so there is one element that is being replaced by another. That means it's single replacement. Okay, hopefully that should be second nature right now. Okay, so now let's get on to the nature of the business and let's balance. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look. I have 2 bromine. I have 1 bromine. Well, I know I'm obviously going to need 2. So might as well put a 2 there. Okay, so now I have 2 bromine and 2 bromine. I'm good. But now I have 2 potassium and 1 potassium. I need 2. Guess what? Let's put a 2. Iodine, 2, and then I have 2. You can always check yourself. 2 potassium, 2 iodine, 2 bromine, 2 potassium, 2 bromine, 2 iodine. You are balanced. Okay. This one, let's go through it. So this may look like a combustion equation, right? But if you take a closer look, you will see that it's not. So combustion, right? The products always have to be carbon dioxide and water. I have carbon and water. Okay, so it is not a combustion reaction. So if you take a look at it, I have a compound that is broken down into a smaller or a simpler compound and an element. So this one is slightly tricky, but it's a decomposition reaction. Okay, let's balance it. So I'm gonna kind of follow the rules that I follow for combustion, even though it's not combustion, makes it easier. Okay, so I have 6 carbon. I need 6, so give me 6. I have 12 hydrogen. I need 12. What do I need to multiply 2 by to get 12? That's 6. And then always check your numbers. You have 6 carbon, 12 hydrogen, 6 oxygen. You have 6 carbon, 12 hydrogen, 6 oxygen. You're balanced. Okay, that is problem number 7. Okay, let's move on to the back of your worksheet. Okay, so on the back of your worksheet, we did number 8 together in class yesterday. So let's move on to number 9. Okay, so number 9, we have H2 plus CO plus O2. Okay, so you never want to waste valuable time if you don't have to. So if you're confused on where to start, always come up with your numbers. So on this side, I have 2 hydrogen, I have 1 carbon, I have 3 oxygen. Okay. On this side, let's put an OX there so it looks like oxygen, not a 30. And if you come in on the other side, you have 2 hydrogen, 1 carbon, 3 oxygen. Whoop, guess what? You're balanced. You do not need to do anything. 2 hydrogen, 1 carbon, 3 oxygen. Okay, so now you need to know what type of equation it is. You have a bunch of elements or compounds. So you have an element here and an element here and a compound here that is coming together to form a bigger, badder compound. So we are a synthesis reaction. Okay, let's move on to number 10. So for number 10, let's take a look at the reaction first. I have a bigger, badder compound that's being broken down into a smaller compound and an element. So hopefully in your brain, you said that this was a decomposition reaction. And now let's go about our balance. So remember what I told you. When you see 3s and 2s, put in 3s and 2s. So 3, 2. Okay. So now let's check it. So we have 2 lithium and we have 2 chlorates. Yes, that is a polyatomic ion. Over here, I have 1 lithium, 1 chlorine, 6 oxygen. Okay, so here's the deal with this one. You see this is getting broken down. So in this case, it would probably be easier for you to put them down individually, right? So you have 2 chlorine, and then you have 6 oxygens. Okay, so what we know, our oxygens are good, so we can leave this alone. But I need 2 lithium and 2 chlorine. So guess what? I'm going to put a 2. That gives me my 2. And now everybody else falls in line and we are balanced. Okay, let's move on to number 11. First question always, what type of reaction is it? Well, let's take a look. Let's see what's going on. Are they switching partners or are they just chilling? So if you take a look, it looks to me like calcium swaps places with sodium, right? Because it's calcium bromide and sodium phosphide. And now I have calcium phosphide and sodium bromide. So your brain should say, yo, I think that's a double replacement reaction. Okay, so this one is pretty interesting. So what I'm going to do just by looking at this equation, the easiest thing to start with would probably be the phosphorus, right? So I have 2 phosphorus on one side here, and I have 1 phosphorus here. So I'm going to need 2. So let's just put a 2 here and see what happens. Okay, so now my biggest change is now I have the correct amount of phosphorus, but now my sodiums are still out of whack. So 2 times 3 is 6 sodiums. Let's give ourselves 6 sodiums. All right, so now we're on 6 sodiums. Sodiums are cool, phosphorus are cool. Now our problem is bromine. So I have 6 bromine on the right side. I need 6 on the other one. I already have 2, right? The factor you have to multiply 2 by to get 6 is 3. Okay, and then if you think you're done, check your numbers. We have 3 calcium. We have 6 bromine. We have sodium. We have 1 phosphorus. We have 3 calcium. Whoop, let me back up. We have more than 1. We have 2 phosphorus. My bad. We got 2 phosphorus here. We have 6 here. We have 6 bromine here. Now, to my eye, it looks like we're balanced. 6 bromines, 6 bromines, 3 calcium, 3 calcium, 2 phosphorus, 2 phosphorus, 6 sodium, 6 sodium. Guess what? We are balanced. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. Those are the rest of the problems that you had to complete for your classwork today. All right, if you have any more questions, you know how to find me.